Hello and welcome back to the Cardboard Herald, my chance to talk with creative gamers and game creators. As always, I'm your host, Jack, and today I have two very special What the Film related guests. I have Alex and Mike from Lethal Chicken Games. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, and this is kind of interesting because we are recording this the day before that it's going live, which already is a weird circumstance. But we were just recording an interview, Alex and I, and about halfway through, my equipment just like exploded and went like bleh. And it appears like the first half of this recording did not actually record, or rather something did record and it was just a black screen. And that's totally on me, but it's a weird occurrence for the first time in a year and a half of you guys getting this wonderful show. So we're going to get to the bottom of that. I tested my equipment. It sounds like we're A-okay and recording now. And fortunately, in the meantime, Mike was able to join us, the co-creator, co-company owner, 100% exclusive beard owner in the company. And so now we are picking up the pieces and moving forward. So thanks for entertaining me, Alex, and welcome to the show, Mike.
I totally sabotaged it just to make it onto the show. So
yeah, exactly. You weren't part of the fun. You weren't part of all the Ferrari jokes that we were making about Alex. All right, we're going to make sure that you guys get the full skinny of these guys here. So, first off, you guys are on Kickstarter. This is your first project, Lethal Chicken's foray into the board game space here, and you guys are already funded, like, within the first couple of days, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we funded in the first 4 days, and the way that this came about is Mike and I are neighbors, go to the same church, and shortly after Hurricane Irma, we volunteered to go down and help with the cleanup down in Fort Myers. And I actually moved here from Los Angeles about a year and a half ago, and we were fortunately we weren't affected in our area. We live in Orlando, right close to Magic Kingdom, and so we went down to help those poor folks out in Fort Myers. And while we were down there, Mike and I ended up chit-chatting and sharing a tent that night. And my background is video and Mike's background is games. And so we were just talking, and I was telling him about a movie script that I had written. And Mike said, "Hey, I could turn that into a really cool game." And and I was just like, okay. And I'd been shooting for Ferrari the last 3 years or so. And things were a little lighter for the last few months, and so I was open to new ideas, and so we just started talking about like starting this company and making board games, and it just sounded fun and exciting. And my background with board games was like Monopoly and Star Wars Monopoly, and
so you're sitting in this tent feeling like you're being held hostage by this bearded dude who goes to your church, and you're like, he's talking to me about board games. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and we have a bunch of trees to cut down. Okay, so Mike, Alex is describing your background as games. Do you have a professional background in games, or is it just that you are all consumed by your love of tabletop gaming?
A little bit of both. I'm a big gamer. I have been for a while. Pretty seasoned in the hobby. I was, before me and Alex got together, I was pretty much coming up with ideas for people. I wrote about 12 games that I was like selling away for like peanuts. And I'm like, hey, idiot, why are you giving all the good stuff away for $100 a pop when you could be making it yourself? So I've worked on not much has been published. A lot of it was held up by the creators I sold it to. But I've been in the gaming realm of things for quite some time. My background is a little bit different than Alex's. I am a sports marketing guy. So I worked for the WWE for a little bit. Did social media and marketing for them. Then I worked for PBC Boxing. So the the odd thing of us coming together to make like party games is like, wait, you got a marketing guy and a film guy that makes Ferrari videos. The WWE meets Ferrari video. let's make some games. So
yeah, this is totally
yeah,
buck wild to me up here. Like I'm listening to you guys be like, oh, I have this job in Ferrari, and oh, I have this job in WWE. I mean, I'm in Alaska. Like the only jobs that you have up here are either working for state government, working for an oil company, or working on a boat. Those are like the 3 jobs that people can have in Alaska. Well, no, I was about to say, or you could be in a reality TV show. But if you were in a reality show, you would be on a boat working for state government, or maybe in a mine, I guess. So this is pretty awesome to hear the expanse of what opportunities lie in wait down there in Orlando. So I guess.
Yeah.
This is interesting that the genesis of this game was you two doing some sort of community work, and Irma was a horrible incident that affected many people in the southern United States. Was it just part of the church group? Was it a faith-based thing, or was there some particularly compelling reason that had you guys doing this community service? Did you know someone who was particularly affected? I guess I'm always interested in learning more about why people go out of their way to help others when they don't need to.
We live in Orlando, not too far from like 2 miles from Magic Kingdom, so we're pretty close. And because it's a pretty insulated area, we weren't affected by the hurricane at all, as far as damage goes. And so our church group, Mormon Helping Hands, was going down to. They asked for volunteers to go do cleanup, and said yes without hesitation. And Mike did the same thing. And yeah, I mean, we knew each other from church, and we had talked a bit here and there about different doing video for a board game restaurant he was thinking about opening, and things like that, and but had never really talked about like making games or anything like that. And so we both just ended up being down there, and we're working kind of in the same crew, and the next thing you know, we were sharing a tent that night and talking about how to form a company and make a board game.
Totally.
Yeah, it was pretty humbling. Like it's just really cool to like we've kind of been blessed when it comes down to it, where we went out there for really unselfish reasons, and it turned into because of being quick to serve, I think, and trying to bless others, we were able to come up with something pretty cool. So, and that's kind of our mantra as a company, just to brighten people up a little bit. So it's really important to us as a company, I think.
I feel like we've truly been blessed because of this. Had we not gone down to help others down in Fort Myers, this game would not have happened. This company would not have been formed.
Well, Alex, I know that your background is definitely not in the tabletop gaming thing, but there are some things that I'm very interested in your background with the Ferrari video production, and I know that you have you were telling me earlier that there's an office in California, but you're over there in Florida, and I want to know all about this stuff. But just so I have kind of like a baseline understanding of Mike here. What are like some of your favorite games, the games that you play that you're like, dude, I want to be in the business of making games? It's kind of weird. I literally play everything. Alex could vouch for that. He came over and he almost threw up when he saw my collection. So he's like, what the heck am I getting into? I could tell you what I could tell you what I'm really digging right now. Yeah. What are you hot on? What's your jam?
Grim Forest has become one of my. That's my stuff right now. Really digging Scythe. Jamie's stuff is Rockstar. What else am I playing? Mechs vs. Minions. Dig that game. I just got into. I was a very anti-Euro gamer for a long time, just because there's only so many farms you can make. But I just got into a couple more, a little Stefan Feld stuff. Really digging like Bora Bora. That's a really fun game. My all-time favorite game, a shout out to Steve Avery too, if he's listened to this, is Nothing Personal, a game he did with Tom Vassell.
Yeah.
We're actually blessed, and we're working with on a project with Steve, which is really cool. I don't want to spill the beans too much, but it's really neat. Like, here we are, two guys that made up a party game and is potentially working on a game with one of my favorite designers. So Nothing Personal would be like, if I want to pull out a game and play with pretty much anybody, that's my go-to game.
Well, I need to hit on What the Film, because I want to make sure that we're actually talking about this game, and because there's so many threads to pull on with you guys here that I keep on looking forlorn at all these things that you're saying. I'm like, oh, I want to talk about that. Oh, I want to talk about that. But we need to at least hit on what is this game, because I don't get a chance to talk about party games that much. You know, most of the history of the show has been about people who are designing, publishing, making the artwork for strategy games, whether they're Euro or American style, old games, new games, you know, all kinds of things, but focused on strategy games. And while there are definitely some strategy adjacent party games, you know, I'm thinking about the Cash and Guns of the world, the Two Rooms and a Boom. Maybe that's even a little bit more abstracted from this. You know, those types of games where you're still working within a defined strategy. Secret Hitler, Resistance. This is more akin to some of the lighter, more purely subjective and social party games. And what compelled that, and who do you think the audience is for this? Is this something that the elite strategy gamer is going to be playing, cleaning up at the end of the night and just wanting something as a filler? Or do you see this more as like your after school community group, or, you know, your church group, or whatever it is, you know, non-gamers or maybe more casual affair gamers?
You know, it's funny the groups that you mentioned, because we've played with almost all of the above. We've done we actually did after school with teachers and principals. We've played with hardcore gamers when we were at Prototype Con, and we had Steve Avery was there, and Mike would know, have a better memory on who all was there, but. And yeah, it's just kind of run the gamut, and regardless of which group it's fallen into, we've never, like, every time we've walked away, where our faces hurt, and we're just like, oh my gosh, I laughed so hard, like my face hurts.
Yeah, so I mean, to go on a step forward, we want to just the dynamic of our company too is taking that person that's never played a game and taking that person that plays games all the time. We just want to put out a product, I think, that crosses both types of people. We've played it with, like Alex said, we played it with super introverted people. We played it with actors. We played it with people who have despise party games. So I think what we were trying to do, what we were trying to capture, is just the ability to bring it to the table and be able to just like let down your hair, have some laughs. Which I like, you know, some gamers. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. Some gamers get really serious sometimes. And it's really nice to just have this level playing field where everybody could just let down their hair, have just a goofy night where you're telling just crazy stories and you're worried about a clock and the other people at the table beating the crap out of you. So, yeah, it's just a nice break. It's a nice break, and it's a nice way to, like, me, I'm all about growing the community, right? Like, I mean, that's what we're all in this for. And it's just really neat to like take somebody at like with Alex's background, who isn't a huge gamer, and be able to wheel him in and play games just because we did this project with the film, be able to bring stuff to the table that he would never see. So I think it's a great icebreaker, and it's just kind of like that bridge the gap where, like, hey, games are accessible.
Yeah, totally. And I think that there's something cool about it that you guys, as the non-gamer and the gamer, getting together and having Alex's entry point into this be through actually producing games, and, you know, kind of finding that the first game that he's taking part in making that you were taking part in making, because you're actually here on the call. I'm talking to Mike exclusively here. I'm looking at the right side of my screen, okay? But that you're taking the part in making is the type of game that would bring someone who doesn't have experience with games to the table. And I think that's awesome, because there is a degree of elitism in the hobby, that you're not a real gamer unless blah. And the only real answer to that is you're not a real gamer if you don't play games. You know, like it doesn't matter what the type of games are. If you're playing pinochle with people, you know, you're still a form of gamer. But that said, I think Mike could appreciate this question. Why are most party games garbage, and what did you do to make a cool party game?
Whoa, man. Hey, dude.
Hey, hey.
I love party games.
No, I'm saying that lovingly. I
think a lot of, for me at least, and Alex, I know he's played some social party games too. There's not much there. Like, it's like very simple. And there's only so many games you could play of like Taboo with words on a card where you're like, okay, don't say carrot. So what we were trying to do is get people come to the table, throw in that storytelling aspect of it. And the thing I hate about most party games is people, we designed What the Film to be kind of that gap bridger where, hey, the guy who doesn't want to tell a story still has 3 funny cards he just played that tells the story himself. Or the guy that wants to go on this tangent for 36 seconds and blow your mind with his creativity could do it. So we wanted to. I think the key for us is a lot of party games kind of like touch the surface of saying, hey, this is for everybody, but in actuality, it's not. Where we really, I believe, made a product where it's like this game could be played with your grandma, could be played with your attorney, and could be played in like a prison cell. So whatever it may be, there's something for everybody in that box.
We checkmarked that the attorney box, the grandma box. I think we haven't played it in jail yet.
I can take it over to Lemon Creek Correctional Facility. You know, occasionally we do like Success Inside Out. You know, find some outreach there. Maybe they'd get a kick out of it. Let me check my understanding of the game here. So it's a game where you're playing 3 cards on your turn, and you're trying to string them together as like a scene. And then at the end, after everyone's presented their cards, everyone has to vote on one scene that they think is the best, or maybe outline for a film. Or maybe it's like a 3-act film. You guys will have to correct me on this, but ultimately every player at the end of a round is electing someone else that they thought was best. Whoever got voted on the most wins that round, and you just keep on playing until so many points are scored?
That's correct. So everyone has a handful of cards, and out of those 3, you put together a plot, an actor, and a set card. And you make what you feel is the best movie. So like I just randomly grabbed 3 cards. We could have like an executioner falls in love with a mermaid or merman at fat camp.
Okay.
And then you would make, then you would pitch your movie. And even that right there almost kind of like could write itself in a sense. You could leave it at that, or you could elaborate about how, this overweight executioner went to fat camp and, was trying to kind of get himself back in shape because, he's this overweight executioner and he doesn't ever have a shirt on. And as part of the training at this fat camp, they have them swim across this lake, and there's this mermaid that pulls him under the water, and he falls in love with this mermaid at fat camp. And you have to find out, does he die from not being able to breathe, or does he have this amazing romantic relationship with a mermaid? Coming soon to a theater.
That was over 30 seconds.
That That was
36?
beautiful. That was beautiful. I loved that. So one of the things that just dawned on me in you giving me that sequence of events is that there's the potential in making the cards to have a huge amount of references to beloved movies. You know, off the top of my head, I mean,
Yes.
you have maybe the Executioner from Robin Hood Men in Tights, and then you have over here the mermaid from Splashed, and then the fat camp is definitely going to be like Heavyweights or something. And I'm wondering if that each of you had like one movie that was just this obscure movie that you were like, no one is going to get the reference except for like two people, and they are going to adore this game because of this card that we put in there. Is there something like that in here?
Yeah, there was. We were playing with the guy. We live played it on Twist Gaming. We were playing with those guys, and it was pretty funny because Matt, the one guy from Twist Gaming, he said he said something along the lines where this movie is the sequel, and he called it Electric Boogaloo, and I was like, wait a minute, that's Breaking 2. I know that movie. I'm one of the only people in this room that know that movie. So we had this like bonding moment through this really bad breakdancing movie from the 80s, and it was like poetry, man. It was literal poetry, man.
That's awesome.
There's actually a lot of like secret, like little hidden gems. Mike has a card in there. I have a card in there. We've got, because I've worked in the film industry for a number of years, so it's allowed me to make a few connections here and there. And so we've got a handful of other cards in there. We've got, I don't know if you know who Greg Louganis is, but he was the Olympic diver back in the 80s that hit his head. He's in our game. Cheryl Teagues is in our game, who was a supermodel back in the 70s. We've got Paula Abdul has a card in there. And then just like some shout outs to like super random, like we've got Dr. Judy from The Doctors. She actually has an office on the same floor as I do at the studio. And, so she's got a card in the game. And so, we just kind of like threw in kind of some fun little tidbits here and there. And then because I'm kind of more on the film side, when we wrote the cards from a film perspective, like, we were able to really kind of throw in some of the more technical terms, not to be confusing, but just kind of to like, people that are in the film industry, they could play the game and be like, oh, hey, like I know what a DP is, or, second AD, like I know exactly what the second AD does. That he's the one that goes and gets the talent, that sort of thing.
That's awesome. Now, okay. Again, it's one of those things that I got to chase, and there's so many things that you were mentioning, but I wrote down a specific question here that I don't want to miss. Did you shoot the video for the Kickstarter campaign? Because I was struck by how beautiful that looked, and I was like, God, these guys are only asking for $5,000, and this looks incredible. Like, aside from the game, which sounds fun, it looks cool, but I was like, damn, did they hire like a film studio to make their video here? Like, I feel like this is far better than any sort of like office training that I've received. Looks better than half the 3-camera sitcoms that I've seen on TV. I was like, what is going on here that these guys have access to these resources and are only asking for $5,000 to fund their game?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I like.
Yeah.
That's all I like.
So
that shot cut it. So, I've been doing this for, 13, 14 years, which is a whole nother story. Someday when you need an episode about starting a business, I have a good one for you.
Okay.
But yeah, so I've been doing video production for 13, 14 years, and I've worked on pretty much everything I've done is all like soup to nuts. So if I shoot something, like generally I will concept it, shoot it, cut it, and deliver the finished product start to finish. So I've done stuff for, I did like the videos that premiered at the Tron Legacy blue carpet premiere that we're showing in the theater there for Disney and Nokia. And I've done some stuff for Marvel, and I've done videos for Procter & Gamble and Lamborghini and Porsche and Ferrari and Maserati. Fashion Week. I don't know. The list goes on. It's a lot. I've done a lot.
And I'm assuming you own at least one of each of these cars that you've listed, and you flaunt them all over Florida all the time.
I've crashed them all.
I mean, I don't mean to throw Ferrari under the bus because they've been really good to me, but I could barely get a shirt out of them.
I was driving behind here in Southeast Alaska. I was driving behind a Porsche earlier today, but it looked like a 1960s rusted out model that was just like cranking as many decibels as it could down the highway, about to fall apart at any moment. But it was still like, hey, that guy's got a Porsche. That's pretty sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are nice
he's
cars.
driving around in a Porsche. I've got the hoopty, man. I'm just a rider with a hoopty.
Well, this is a rare opportunity, and I hope that I'm not going to get maybe too personal or real here, but, this is something that I think is a worthwhile discussion because we work in an industry, or I guess I don't work. I podcast in an industry. You guys are working in an industry where there is almost like an understanding that people check their perspectives and biases at the door when they come to the table, because it's about the game and about having fun with friends. But you guys mentioned that you go to a Mormon church, and I've had people who are Catholic on the show, Protestant. Sometimes we talk about it, sometimes we don't. I've talked to people who are very openly atheist, or I've talked to someone about their I guess history of trying to make games that highlight Jewish culture. And one question that I have is, as people who are practicing Mormons, is there any sort of conflict that you feel in the kind of immersion in some of the genre stuff that happens? Like there's some pretty hardcore stuff in the board gaming space. There are people who really like some incredibly hardcore stuff. Is that ever like feel unwelcoming to you, or like you're ostracized from other gamers? And if not, like what is your experience? Is it just like you're a dude at a table?
Do you want to go? You could go.
Yeah, I'll say. I'll jump in if you got some. But we'd be lying to say that our values aren't a part of us and a part of what we designed our company to be, and just who we are. Like we really strongly believe in our faith, and we think that it's not a Sunday type thing. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah, totally.
But in the same regards, I've had friends from all good people from all walks of life, and I think it comes down to just treating people like treat people. You know what I mean? If I feel uncomfortable with something, I'm not going to say, "Oh my gosh, you're such a terrible person for doing that." But I'm less likely to sit there and like partake of something that just makes me feel like I shouldn't be. And that just goes with anything. That goes with, like Alex is a big film guy. We talk about that. There's just movies that we won't watch. Like there's, if something is just not inviting to who we are through our faith, I'd be a hypocrite to say that it wasn't a huge part of my life and it doesn't forecast decisions that I make in my life. But that's not to say that, I'm going to freak out when Zombicide comes to the table, or I'm going to look at you bad for backing hate or something like that. Even though I'm not necessarily like into it doesn't mean that I think you're a terrible person, or I'm going to put myself on a pedestal. So I think it's just like everything we do in our everyday lives is accompanied with our faith in mind, and we'd be hypocrites if we didn't approach our business in the same way, I think.
Well, I own Zombicide, and I am a terrible person. So.
I do too.
I do own Zombicide.
But those are mutually exclusive things, not necessarily related.
No, but I agree with Mike. We craft our games such that we're not embarrassed to play them with our mother, and I think that's kind of the easiest way to sum it up. we're not gonna. People have asked us, are you gonna do an adult, like an adult version, or like a 17 plus version of what the film? And we're not. I mean, that's not who
honestly,
we are.
the game is free form enough that if that's what you're wanting, you could totally play it that way.
You can definitely take it there. So we were playing it at Prototype Con and with Steve Avery, and he was making up singing songs about syphilis. So I mean, it's kind of funny.
It was kind of funny that night was actually pretty funny because we're sitting there at Prototype Con and we've got the guys from Just Got Played. We're playing with a couple guys from Twist. We got Steve Avery at the table, and it's turning into something that we were like, we're just these two little Mormon guys going, "Oh, well, my story's not going to be like that." So oddly enough, like we have a Mormon missionary card, and that pops up, and like it's in Steve Avery's hand. I'm like, no, what are you going to do with it? So you know what? Like we're not. You know what? Like I just don't. We don't do things to. I don't. I guess I don't know how to put it in words, but we just don't do things that don't represent who we are. And
yeah, that's the best way that you can put it. You're authentic to who you are, and also you're not judgmental of who's playing your game. And I think that's part of why I think this conversation is important to have, is because I'm sad a lot of the times when I look at the state of the world, and it's not because I think someone is in power or this side is winning or that side is winning. I'm sad because of this kind of tribalization that people feel that someone who believes something different than them are inherently like a different type of human altogether. Yeah. And I think a lot of the time it's fear of judgment, if they're judging what they're willing to play, then therefore they're judging me. And I think that's why it's important to have these conversations and to hear from people who just want to play games. And sure, you may make choices about what you expose yourself to or what you engage in, or that doesn't change that the fundamental goal of having fun, busting your gut laughing with friends is what you are trying to facilitate here. And it doesn't change your chops at all. It doesn't change who you want playing your game at all. It just changes what your guys' own frame and preferences may be. So I appreciate you guys entertaining me with a little bit of discussion there.
Well, it's been interesting, like the last several years. I mean, I come from a film industry background where most of my friends are extremely liberal, and and now I live in Florida where most everyone here is very conservative, and it's fine. Like I love both people. Like I love my liberal friends and I love my conservative friends, and I have no qualms with either way. So, some of my greatest friends are fall on both sides of the spectrum.
That's awesome.
I think for me, laughter is a universal language. You know what I mean? Like no matter whatever we're doing, we're just trying to bring a smile to someone's face. And I think we've been so fortunate to have such diversity in testing what the film, playing it, that it really encompasses what we wanted to do, and that just makes something that makes someone laugh. And I think like if that's how we're basing our success, it's not dollar signs, just by putting smiles on people's faces, we're doing a pretty dang good job.
Yeah, I mean, as long as we can agree that the only terrible people are people who can't laugh at an executioner at a fat camp falling in love with a mermaid. Well,
yeah.
I like you guys. I could talk to you guys forever about all kinds of projects that you have on the horizon. I know that there's some potential real exciting news that could happen for you guys, and I know that you guys are already prototyping and showing off other games, and also what the film is funded. So it's going to be out there. It's going to be in the world, and backers are going to get their games. You guys have histories of professionalism, so I have no doubt that it's it's going to make it into people's hands. Everyone can go and check out What the Film right now if you're listening to this when it airs by just looking up What the Film ! Question mark or question mark exclamation mark on Kickstarter, or just What the Film. But I have to talk about for the audience here, because I talked about it with Alex beforehand, we're going to close out with why a company would be so insane as to name their company Lethal Chicken Games, and how freaking cool is that mascot? I mean, everyone, if nothing else, you have to go onto the Kickstarter page to check out this mascot. It looks like a chocobo from Final Fantasy dressing up as Rambo. They're holding plushies in front of me right now. There's like scars and grenades and eye patches and everything amazing. And it seems like simultaneously the coolest name and the most preposterous name of any company that has come on this show. So just give me the lowdown on why you guys went with Lethal Chicken.
Okay, so the way that it came about is when we started the company and in the tent down in Fort Myers, we were trying to come up with the name, and Mike had always liked the name Hip Hippo Games, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a cool name. So we had a logo commissioned, and while that was kind of in the works, I threw out. So years ago, I had wanted to open a haunted house, and back when I was kind of in my college days, I always thought that would be a fun thing to do.
That's a weird idea, but do continue.
I know, right? So
this guy's done it all, man. Done it all.
Yeah. See, there's some truth to that, actually. It feels like. So then, so I always thought a funny name for a haunted house would be the Lethal Chicken. So I bought the domain, probably 20 years ago, and I've just held on to it. And so then I kind of threw it out there to Mike, and I was just like, hey, another thought for a company name might be Lethal Chicken Games. And he was like, oh yeah, that's funny. And he's like, well, so then we just decided we'd get logos made for both of them and see which one we like the best. And so Hip Hippo Games came back, and we didn't really like that one. And then the Lethal Chicken one came back, and there were 3 different designs. And this was one of them, the chick with the eye patch and, all battle scarred, and we love that one. Like I wouldn't have thought to go there to make it a little chick, but battle scarred, it was so funny. And so when we saw that, we're just like, yes, that's it. And we loved it so much, we even had plushes made of it, and it's our second tier for on the Kickstarter campaign.
It's glorious. That's all I can say is it's glorious. Everyone has to check it out. And thank God that you guys didn't go with Hip Hippo Games. I hope that in retrospect you completely appreciate that you quickly discarded that idea and went with the much cooler idea.
Yeah, we like it. It's been fun.
Well, I really appreciate it, guys. You guys on social media, can people find you anywhere outside of just Kickstarter?
We're at Lethal Chicken 17 on Twitter. It's at Lethal Chicken Games on Instagram, and our Facebook page is Lethal Chicken Games.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming onto the Cardboard Herald. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to see how the game looks once it actually comes out, and hopefully I'll make it down to Florida sometime out of the sun, because as an Alaskan, I will be melted to a little tiny fleshy puddle on the ground, but to actually get a chance to game with you guys. So it's been a pleasure.
That'll be awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, it'd be fun.
Likewise. It's been fun.
As always, the Cardboard Herald is a completely free service focused on spotlighting games, gamers, and game creators. You can find all of our podcasts, including the Cardboard Herald and TCbH reviews, on iTunes, Stitcher, and our website. For more recommendations and reviews, you can also head over to our YouTube channel. We do not pay to advertise the show, so please continue spreading the word, following, liking, rating, and doing all the social media things. It truly does help us out a ton. If you'd like to drop us a line and maybe have your listener mail read on air, find us on Twitter at Cardboard Herald, or send us an email to cardboardherald@gmail.com, or click the contact link on our page. Once again, thank you for listening. I've been Jack for the Cardboard Herald, and you keep on gaming.